Hey, we're back. Three chords and the truth. I really like that opening song. Where'd you get that, Sebastian?
You made it.
Would you call me?
What? Whoa.
Hey, yeah, thanks. Again, we're back. Three chords and the truth. I'm Pete Kramer from the Eastwood Project. Our buddy Alex is back on fireman duty again, or Captain Nipple Clips. Is that what we call him?
Who knows?
Yeah. And he's with the Noblemen, Buffalo's rock and country band over here at Master Control, sitting over to my left, which I know I just pointed right, but that's left. Sebastian DeJesus, the host of 42 North, 78 West Sports Show. We always like to mention our friends at Special Spaces. The things that they do for little kids with cancer is just amazing. My friends Bev, Lynn, Peggy. In fact, actually, I went to high school with all of them, and this is our reunion year. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to make it, but if you get the chance, please, leave us a comment and like what we've got to have, subscribe to what we have, and feel free to ask questions because we're back actually doing a live show. Unlike last week with our buddy Larry Smith, we had to pre-record that one. But this week we're going all the way across the country, up over the border to the north to, I believe it's Calgary, Canada, to a new friend of ours that I just met recently. Her name is Caroline Parke. And at this point, I would love to bring in Caroline because she's got a really cool story to tell about her musical journey. And there we are. Hi, Caroline. How are you?
Good. How are you doing, Pete?
Good. How are you?
Oh, I'm hot. I'm not used to the heat that we're getting right now. So
really, we're freezing over here.
Really? What's freezing for you?
Well, for June, what is it, Sebastian? About 64 degrees?
64. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know how that converts to Celsius, but
I don't know, but I did look it up just in case the weather came up or anything, and we're at 85. So
oh wow,
that's really, really darn hot especially for June. Usually we might get that in July, like for 1 day or 2 days, but yeah, it's pretty nice.
Well, it's kind of cool because your show now and a couple of weeks ago, our other friend, he was in Toronto. You're at what port in Canada?
So I'm on the Alberta-Saskatchewan border. So from Calgary, you had mentioned, you would go 3 hours north and then 3 hours east.
So you're not in Calgary?
No.
Okay.
But I'm in that time zone, so that's close.
Okay, close enough.
Yeah.
But I want to go through a lot of the things that you and I kind of previously spoken about with, you didn't pick up a guitar until a certain age. You didn't pick up another instrument until a certain age. You're a mom trying to raise your kids. So I shut up and let you tell your story because I'm boring.
You're totally not. I was watching a few of your other shows and wow, you got such a big music circle down there. Like it sounds like a lot of fun.
Well, we found each other from a singer-songwriter page. In fact, it was the ISSA page, International Singer-Songwriter page.
Which apparently is growing quite a bit right now. So they've been around for 7 years, I think. So yeah, I discovered them about a year ago. And what great contacts through that group.
Well, we're actually going to have the founder. It's not 7, it's 3 years. But she's going to be on with us in August.
Oh, okay. Oh, very good.
So that's kind of
cool. Is it only 3? Yeah, they just had their 3-year anniversary. I don't know where I got 7 from.
That's all right.
Yeah. Oh, she's doing really well.
Now, and I've met a lot of cool people, from that page. And actually, I've got 2 other people coming up in the next couple of weeks that are also from that same ISSA page.
Great. Well, I will be tuning in for sure.
Wow, that's very cool. So anyway, what your story again? When you picked up your first guitar, when you picked up your first musical instrument, tell us about what you've got to say.
Okay, when I picked up the guitar for the first time, actually, my girlfriend Tammy, who wasn't, we were barely friends, but I was a painter and she was also a painter. She did portraits and watercolors, and I was doing abstracts. And so we were at this art market, and she was the vendor and had a table next to me. And she had brought her guitar because she's a singer-songwriter. She had a couple albums out, and she's just a lovely person. Probably old enough to be my mom, but that's totally beside the point. Like, we just hit it off immediately. And so she showed me the G chord, and then it just went from there. Like, I think 2 or 3 months later, I went and bought a banjo.
Really?
Yeah. And then after a little bit of time, I realized that banjo was it's not as popular and there wasn't as many teachers around. So then I went back to the same music store and got just a standard like classical guitar because I was told it would be easier on the fingers. So, yeah.
So let me interrupt you for a second. You bought an actual banjo.
Yeah. I wanted to learn bossa nova on the banjo because there was this chick out of Chicago that was posting all these YouTube videos, and she's phenomenal. And I love Brazilian music. So I did a couple online lessons with her. But, that was in 2007. Like I couldn't really afford to be doing regular lessons with people, and online is not as good as in person. So I found one person in the town that I was living in, and he was from Australia, and he had a very thick accent. And I ended up learning a lot from him, and he plays guitar. And so we ended up jamming a lot. Like the first year that I played guitar was, of course, a huge learning curve. And I found a great music community there. And I was working up north in the oil field. And so the rest is history, really. Like I wrote a couple songs that was between 2007 and 2009. And then, I just kind of really got into old time country, I guess. And really rediscovered it. And this is all this music that I grew up with. So it was funny going through songs and saying, oh, I've never heard of that song before. And I hit play and I knew every word. So even though I never picked up the guitar till I was 24, I definitely had music in my bones, right? Like from a young age.
Well, you look like you're about 20. So how did that work?
I'm almost 40.
No, have you ever heard of a banjo?
No. I don't
No,
think so.
Keith Urban plays a banjo. He's very open about that because he said he was.
It's a banjo sound, but it's tuned like a guitar.
It's a 6-string banjo that's tuned like a guitar. Yes, I have one hanging on my wall over here because I was too lazy to learn how to play banjo. Banjo chords are way different than guitar chords.
Yeah.
And it's very cool, and it's a different feel. I only bought a cheap one because Sebastian's actually grabbing that for me right now.
Nice.
Thank you.
Show me.
Thank you. But yeah, it's a 6-string banjo. You play it just like a guitar. It's tuned like a guitar. Yep. And I've got a few songs that I wanted to record, and I wanted that sound. You get a banjo sound out of a.
It would be really nice for finger picking too.
Yeah, it is. We just used it on one of my songs recently, and it was very cool. Yeah, Doug Tisdale played on it, and it was just so cool to add that extra layer in behind the guitar, the mandolin, the piano, and stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, so they had one at this, I lived north of a very small town, and they have a music store called Sew and Tune. They sell sewing machines and musical instruments. It's the only place in the world like it. So I went in there and they had one of those, and I kind of told my husband about it. He's like, just one more instrument. That's what you just want to keep buying instruments and collecting instruments. So that was the end of that conversation, but it is a very intriguing idea for sure.
How many guitars do you have?
Right. Well, I guess just 2 now.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's all you
very
need.
reasonable, right?
There's so many people that I've talked to. Some people have got 1. Some people have got 40.
Right. Yeah. Well, so what I did is I actually got not bored, but I just went to these old time jams with these old timers, and that's kind of my people. Yeah. And like everybody, there was like 14 guys with guitars. And that was it. Like they just liked having me because I was like, oh, a different vocal, like it's nice to have a girl that sings instead of 14 guys. So I looked around and I should totally learn fiddle because there's one fiddle player and he's getting up there. So I picked up the fiddle, and that was 4 years ago. And now I can strum the lead, or I can pick the lead on the mandolin, which I'm so excited about.
Really?
Yeah, because it's the same, every single note on the fiddle, it would be the same on the mandolin. If you close your eyes, if you look at the frets, it totally messes me up. But the only problem is that I play guitar right-handed because I was told to go right-handed. But then when I picked up the fiddle, I was like, I want to do this my way. So I play it left-handed. And then now I'm playing the mandolin left-handed too.
That's so interesting.
So I can only pick the mandolin. I can't strum it because then I got to strum on an upbeat, right? Otherwise, anyhow, that's a whole other rabbit trail. So
No, I've heard that about. Playing fiddle is just like so foreign to me. I pick a little bit on the mandolin every once in a while, but to find out that it's basically the same thing as a fiddle, it's like you got 4 strings on a fiddle. How is a mandolin with 8 strings? But I guess
it's just doubled, right? It's not. Yeah. So yeah, I just picked it up and I was able to do the Tennessee waltz right away, and I was like so excited by that.
Cool. So you learned how to play guitar in 2007, which is not that long ago. Right?
I guess. Seems like a long time ago for me, but yeah.
What prompted you to start writing songs?
Well, with chicks, it's always like emotional events. So I had written maybe like 4 or 5 songs back in 2009 or 10 or 11 in there. And then 2012, I got married, and like my YouTube channel kind of took a dive at that point. Because before that, I was like posting a cover song every week and a couple, originals here and there. But yeah, 2012, we ended up having 4 kids in 5 years. So there's not a whole lot of videos at that time, but the ones that I am there, I know, right? Everyone's eyes are like, how did that happen?
You're an overachiever.
I know, right? That's what I just say, go Team Parke. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. So yeah, our youngest is 3.5, and he just learned how to ride the bike like 2 days ago.
That's amazing. Good for you.
It is amazing. Yeah. And he knows every lyric. Like if I sang one line of a song, he will sing the next line.
That's cool.
It's very cool to watch. Yeah.
So you got your first album done. You got your second one that you're working on.
Yeah.
Right?
And my third, actually, my second one is done, and it's to the printers last week. It's done. I'm so excited. And nice. My third one is half done because I kind of did the second and third album at the same time, and I wasn't sure how the songs were going to fit together. But I was just working with my producer, like, let's do this song, let's do that song. And then I ended up writing them all down. I think I had like 20 or something, and kind of split them up and decided to put them into 2 albums. So yeah, the album that's going to be released, it's kind of a Western album, a little bit of singer-songwriter folk Western. And then the other album that's coming is more of a hippie folk storytelling.
That's cool.
Yeah, thanks.
So you said everything, or your influences are mainly country, but you just told me about a couple different genres. That to me is intriguing.
I know. I was actually pulling weeds in the garden last week, listening to some podcast and thinking, like, who are my influences? Like David Bowie all the way. The Guess Who. I knew every song to their album. When I put on their album, I was like shocked by that. But my dad played that over and over again. Lots of country, but yeah, there's some other stuff like Bonnie Raitt and all of her people that would sound similar, like a few of them anyhow. Yeah, I don't know. It's a funny business, this music, because it just gets into your soul, and it's there forever.
Which Guess Who album?
Oh, well, I would say the best of. Like, I think I put on the greatest hits just to hear it. And I was like, oh, yeah, I know all that. What happened? I was 16, and my boyfriend at the time, he said, oh, my dad, I can't go out Friday night because my dad wants to drive me to Calgary or wherever it was and go take me to this concert. So I was all PO'd, and so was he. And he said, well, I said, what concert is it? And he said, oh, it's the Guess Who. And I was like, the Guess Who? And you're not going to go? And he's like, who's that? And I was like,
Really?
Like I said, I've heard of them, but I couldn't say any of the names of their songs. So we went and put on one of their albums, and I was like, I knew every single song. And so I went to my dad and started talking to him about it. He said he used to put me up on his shoulder and dance around the living room when I was just an infant to the Guess Who. Like, he had the record and the big wooden stereo speakers.
Yep.
Yeah, I remember pulling myself up on those speakers when I was little. Like, we always had records going when I was a kid. So,
no, that was one of the first albums I ever bought was American Woman.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't know, 68, 69 or something like that. I mean, I'm old enough to be your dad, but, yeah. I dug so much of that music because that's where music was really so fresh and new back then.
It was
and
so full and like raw.
yeah,
Yeah, like the producers didn't have enough time to polish it up, you know. I'm just guessing, but like nowadays it's like, no, you can't put that out because XYZ, you know, like.
oh, you want that human error in there. You don't want to have anything too polished, in my opinion.
Oh, good. Well, my record's full of errors, so I'm sure you'll love it.
No, what I'm enjoying about talking to you is you're using things in your language that, like, you know, these chicks, and I was PO'd by. That's pretty cool if you ask me.
Well, I was like thinking, okay, I need to be professional, and I was like, no, I need to just be myself and just calm down.
No, just relax. We're just having a nice conversation about music, and again, the show's all about you. But what about Shania Twain?
I remember walking around Bible camp when I was like 11 years old singing Any Man of Mine. And I don't know if I really even knew what all of her, or Whose Bed Have Your Boots Been Under? Had no idea what it was about, but I knew every word.
You know now.
I Sold by John Michael Montgomery, like all that 90s country. I was like the radio station queen at that point. Like I knew all the DJs and their names, and I talked to all of them on the phone. Like, so yeah, I never picked up an instrument, but I was a music lover from day one. Like actually, I remember when I realized I loved music, I would have been 9, and I think I had just finished grade 3, and we went garage sailing, and I got a Nat King Cole cassette tape.
Really?
And I really think that jazz is my first love. Like, and then I also got a Stompin' Tom Connors cassette tape. And so I listened to those 2 cassette tapes all summer on my ghetto blaster that I had gotten for Christmas. And so, yeah, 2 different genres, but I just loved them all. Like, I was just immersed in it.
That's really, to me, that's cool because, again, I was trying to think. I 5 or 6 years old when the Beatles went on Ed Sullivan, and that's what kicked it for me because, you know, I remember the adults, if you want to call them that, were all in the kitchen playing cards and drinking beer and stuff like that. I'm stuck in my great uncle's living room watching this black and white TV, and, you know, of course at that time everybody had Ed Sullivan on Sunday nights, and I remember watching that, and it's like, it was like I got stung and infected all at the same time because that's just what I wanted to do. It was just the coolest thing ever.
Awesome. Yeah, I could see it all.
but no. So do you go out? Do you gig? Do you?
Not a whole lot. Like I have one gig in the middle of July. It's like a music festival, I guess you'd say, in the middle of nowhere, Saskatchewan. It's called the Dog Patch Music Festival, I think. And it's been running for a few years. I'm not sure how long, but the guy that booked me, he said that 2016 was his biggest year because he had the Deep South, I think, and Coulter Wall headlined.
Okay.
And so they had 1,100 people there.
Wow.
For Saskatchewan, he's expecting this year to be a couple hundred people, but I'm wondering, like, what if we get slammed? What if it's super big because everything's totally been locked down in Canada for feels like forever.
No, I know.
And so Alberta's just opening up July 1st. I'm not sure. I think Saskatchewan opens up July 11th, and this is July 16th. So I have a 1-hour set on the Friday night. So yeah, I'm going to go with my backtracks. I'm not really, I kind of would prefer to have a live band, but I have backtracks, and I'll just get up and do what I'm doing right now. Do some storytelling or introduce a song with a story and sing a song. I feel like backtracks might, apparently, like Dolly Parton uses backtracks, right? I went to her show and she had 2 guys on stage playing guitar just for shits and giggles probably, and then she had like an orchestra backtrack. So if she can do it, so can
great thing that you just said, shits and giggles. I love that. That's so freaking cool, man. That's
okay. I don't know if
I love
it's very child friendly, probably, but
who cares? Who cares? No, I'm just worried because you never know with your government and our governor. If I was supposed to cross the line with the internet to go to Canada to even have a conversation with you with all this crazy COVID stuff, but
Right. Yeah.
did you get hurt at all by COVID? Not the disease, but I mean just professionally.
No, I actually, so that was in March when it really came in and locked down. And I remember it on the news, like in January and even in December, there were like rumblings of stuff happening over on the other side of the world. And we were like, yeah. And I was deep into trauma at that time. I don't know if you've ever been traumatized, but you kind of feel like lightheaded and disoriented. So I was like, I'm home 6 days a week. I've been doing that pretty much for 9 years. So I feel like I've been living the COVID lifestyle for a long time. And it was actually really encouraging to me when people did get locked down in March to watch the outcry online, where it's like, you can't go out unless you're getting groceries or pharmacy. And like living in the country, like I moved from a small city to the countryside where I didn't know anybody. And I had this family, and it's very hard to meet people when you're in your house 6 days a week.
I'll bet.
So I felt like, oh, I have been persevering in the face of a hardship, right? Watching everyone else have a hard time too. So it was more of an encouragement to me, to be honest. I don't know if that's probably a very unpopular thing to say, but it was very encouraging for me because I'm such an outgoing social person. And so when I told people at work what I was doing when I was moving here, they all told me like, why would you do that? So they're like, you don't even like kids. And I'm like, oh my God, it's gonna be great. But it's not that I didn't like them. I just, I was living an adult lifestyle and, just worked. I was a young professional. So,
well, I don't know, 4 kids in 5 years. That's
I love being a mom. Like I so enjoy it. But I'm also glad that I have 4 and we're done with that. So
yeah. No, I get it. I totally get it. I've got 4 daughters, and it was pretty much the same thing. 4 kids in, I don't know, 5 years, 6 years, whatever. But
yeah,
you wouldn't trade one of them for anything.
No, totally. They're all so special and lovely. So
no.
Yeah.
So tell me about your recording process with your band. How do you record these things? Because I did watch that other video that you. How did you say it? The video didn't seem to click with the way that the song was about the waitress in the restaurant.
Yeah. So I'm going to release it anyhow. It's officially released on Friday. That's the title track for my album. I just had this vision of what it was going to be. And then when it came through, I was like, it's not really grabbing me. It's not too dynamic. And so I asked the videographer to put something in that would grab people's attention a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, so I there's a part where there's a flower. And so I said, make sparkles come out of the flower. And he's like, literally, he gave me this meme, like, you're kidding, right? And I was like, oh, the sparkles, I want sparkles. And so we did that a couple times on the video. And I think it kind of elevated it a little bit to be a little bit more interesting. But I showed it to my producer and he's like, you should have had a bar fight instead. I'm like, yeah, I should have grabbed my guitar and just started killing or hurting people. That would really grab people's attention, right?
Well, I don't know. I watched the video and I know what you said in the Facebook post, but I really didn't get that. I thought the whole thing worked out pretty good for you. But
good. I'm glad you think so. I think it's because my Ranchin' video is so upbeat because it's well, Paws and Pine, the title track is also very upbeat. It's more of a bluegrass kind of song. But the other Ranchin' song is upbeat. And I did most of it in fast forward.
Okay.
Like using video footage that I've literally just taken while walking around my farm, helping out with cattle moves or filming the kids while they're being silly. So I built that video kind of 90% of it was just home video, and the other, well, maybe 80%, 20% of it, I actually went out and filmed, like my husband augering off grain to the animals, because there's a part in the song where I talk about that. So I augured that. I showed some steaks on the grill. So I filmed that specifically for the video, but most of the footage I just had. So that's why it turned out the way it did. Most of it's home video.
Oh, cool. Oh, that's very cool. That's very
Yeah.
cool. Now, to me, this whole thing is just, I really have never had anybody on this show who has had an ego. But I've never had anybody on the show who has been, just like you just said, on the farm with a husband and 4 kids, that is out there making music videos and writing songs. And
Yeah.
this is very cool.
I gotta say, like, when I put my the first album together, it was completely, I hate to use the like catchy word organic, but it was like, I didn't even think about what the title of the album would be. I already knew. It was just like perfect. It felt so natural and so normal. And like when I created my Caroline Parke songwriter page on Facebook, I didn't feel like any nervousness. Like it was just so natural for me to do. It feels like I've really come into my own in the last year or two here.
Well, that's very cool. And for anybody that's interested, this is going to be posted on YouTube in the archive, so that you can always come back and see Caroline again. We'll repost this on ISSA's page.
Oh, okay. Excellent.
That'll be on there tomorrow, and then you can go ahead and share this with whomever you'd like. But
Great.
I think at this point, I think it would be very prudent, because we're close to being out of time, but I think it would be very prudent if we showed a Caroline Parke video. And why don't you set up the video that we're doing, Caroline? The one you were just talking about, I assume.
Oh, Ranch. And it's actually my dad came up with the chorus and a couple ideas for the verses, and I wrote some, and then it sat for a few months, and then I said to my husband, you got to help me with this. And so he came up with the substance for the third verse, and I came up with the verbiage. So
Nice.
it was actually my first collaborative song. All the other songs I've ever written have just been me. And so this is between my husband and my dad. And we use my husband's, like my dad's quite a jokester, and he writes cowboy poetry. So this is, when you hear the line of the chorus, you'll know that my dad wrote that. And then, my husband, because he's the one that is the rancher, I'm just kind of the lasagna maker. So I try not to I don't want to get too involved in the farm, because then they'll put me to work. And I feel like I kick it in the kitchen.
I love lasagna. That's great.
Yeah, you bet.
So the name of the song is
Ranchin'.
Ranchin'. Here we go. Caroline Parke. Hope you guys enjoy it. Back in a couple minutes.
We're coming. Yeah, we're coming. Come on.
Ranchers have their work cut out, the daily grind that never stops. Mouths to feed and crops to cut, around they go again. Market flux and weather shocks, breakdowns their equipment stops. Yearling splits get heated, boy, it's time to make amends. Then we head in for a feed, a real cowboy steel. Triple A, fresh off the hay, is grilled up for a meal. We inoculate and castrate, roll out large round bales. Feed 'em corn, distillers, grain, expenses that have failed. When the day is over and the year is through, all we can do is hope and pray for a good paycheck or two. Well, the first calf might be coming, so we take to humming a cowboy tune of ranching life out on Alberta plains. Then to reading agri-news, scanning tractors green and blue. Check out the online auction and then accidentally snooze. When the dinner's over, the remnants go to Rover. A cup of joe and away we go to grease up that PTO. Yes, we inoculate and castrate, roll out large round bales. Feed 'em corn, distillers, grains, expenses that have failed. When the day is over and the year is through, all we can do is hope and pray for a good paycheck or two. Trailing cattle's complicated, rotating, anticipating, banking on the older ones who know the way back home. Little ones fall to the back while mama's eager on the track. It's okay as long as they pair up when they're back home. It ain't too long until they're bawling for 3 days or more. Calves are thirsting, the udders bursting of pain she can't ignore. Yes, we inoculate and castrate, roll out large round bales. We feed 'em corn, distillers, grains, expenses that have failed. When the day is over and the year is through, all we can do is hope and pray for a good paycheck or two. When the day is over and the year is through, all we can do is hope and pray for a good paycheck or two.
Troubles! Troubles!
Hey, we're back. That was so cool. You know, that reminded me, just seeing, I'm assuming those are your kids in the video, right?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, okay. No, it reminded me back in the 80s, and again, you're probably too young for this, but, you know, there was a whole problem with the American farmers where they were all losing their ranches. And, you know, John Mellencamp, that's where Farm Aid came from. And your line, at the end of the day, all we can hope for is to get a paycheck or two. That is so freaking cool. That is so powerful, because people don't get what farmers have to do, how much work there is in that.
Totally. Yeah. It's like, I think the year before last, we lost money. We had negative income for all that hard work. You know, I was right PO'd about that and I was ready to quit. And, you know, my father-in-law, he explained that we do cow-calf operations. So he said the cow-calf operator only makes money 2 or 3 years out of every 10.
Jeez.
And the rest of the time, you're just staying afloat.
And that is so unfair.
You know, like, it's the lifestyle. It's having dad around all the time.
Right.
And
but how much work you have to go through to even...
This is the thing. Like, people have no concept. Like, I called a doctor's office to... the receptionist, I said I had gone to Edmonton, so 3-hour drive for the specialist appointment. And she's like, my appointment got canceled. And she's like, well, I haven't had a lunch break all week. Like, I don't know when we're going to book you. June is just so busy. We're so busy. I haven't had lunch all week. And I was like, I had to cook like 10 pounds of beef just to be here. Like, I had to make like 3 lasagnas just to be here. And she was just whining about her office job. I was like, wow, I don't even know what to say. Like, 8 hours in an office is a holiday.
Jeez.
I've done it. It's nothing compared to living on a farm with 4 kids. But, you know, of course, I didn't say anything. I didn't tell her anything. I just was like, okay, so you can't bump me till tomorrow? Like, I'm in the city right now. No, you have to come back next week.
That just seems so unfair. But at least you've got your music that is keeping you alive. And you know, I mean, I don't even know if you're making any money, because nobody's making money from music anymore. But
you know what? I'm making it through motherhood.
Nice.
So that's like, I actually have talked to my husband about this extensively. I thought, if I was going to do this for nothing, $0, would I still do it? And the answer is absolutely yes. This is what I feel like I'm compelled to do. And whether people buy my music or not, I'm still ordering. Every time I make an album, I'm ordering 100 copies. And if I don't sell them, I will leave them to my children, and I'm sure they will love them. So,
right.
But the last album I put out, I think I had 40 people right off the hop e-transfer me, and I popped them in the mail with a handwritten letter. So I have some new friends, you know, down in Kentucky. That's really cool.
And how old are your kids again?
They're 3, 5, 7, and 8.
Okay.
Yeah.
After the show, I'm going to ask you for a physical address because I'm going to send you a copy of my book that I wrote, and
Okay.
that was all done about me being a grandfather watching little kids. And we're getting way off the mark because this is supposed to be about you. But
Well, if you send me that, then I'll have your address and I'll reciprocate with my new album.
that'd be very
So
cool.
that'll work.
That
That'll
would
work
be
good.
very cool.
Yeah.
So where do you record?
So I record in a studio in Holden, Alberta. It's about 45 minutes southeast of Edmonton and about 2 hours from me.
Okay.
And so I met this gentleman through a friend. I was actually in an old timer band, and the lead singer took me to the Dolly Parton concert, and we overnighted at this gentleman's house. So he is 76.
Okay.
And I asked him one time, I said, "What is your favorite stage of life?" And he said, "Right now."
Yeah. Yeah.
So he's motivated. He loves music. He knows what I like, and he knows what I don't like. And he's just he does the backtrack. So what I do is I strum out the song. Sometimes I put on a metronome because I kind of speed up and slow down sometimes.
Yeah.
And so I'll send him an audio clip, and then I'll send him a lyric sheet. So I have my lyrics with the chords on it, and then he builds a backtrack on his computer software, and then I just show up and sing into his microphone when we have 5 or 6 songs ready to go. And so I usually try and do an overnight just because then it's kind of like a mummy break. Yeah. But with COVID, it was kind of like, well, should I come? Can we tell people? I don't know what to do. So my husband got me a nice microphone. So I actually was able to practice, and the last song on the album we did using the microphone. So he sent me the backtrack. I put it on my headphones, and then I sang into this. Ta-da!
Oh, wow.
And then so I sang it 3 times. Well, I sang it 8 times, but then I sent him the top 3 vocal tracks, and then he just spliced together my vocals just like that.
That's
so
cool.
It's just really working good. And actually he wants me to help him get more customers, because I said he's so talented. I said, Ray, these are demo tracks. And there are people that charge a lot for demos, and I think he could be making decent money if he wanted to advertise. So I'm gonna start helping him do that.
A lot of that has to, in my opinion anyway, has to do with the fact that, there's no radio anymore. If there was radio that was back even in the 80s, but especially in the 60s and 70s, I'll go back as far as the 50s, that's what prompted people to buy albums. That's what prompted people to want to go see live concerts.
Right.
And that just doesn't happen anymore unless you're on American Idol or The Voice or something like that. It's just there's, and I believe it firmly in my heart that there's so much good music out there that's being wasted. Nobody's hearing it.
Yes, that's so true. And the hard thing about this industry is you have to be okay with self-promotion.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are not. My friend Tammy has way more talent than I do. It's just, there's no comparison to her vocals are just out of this world. And I'm like, why don't you do ABC? And she's like, well, I don't want to draw attention to herself, right? I don't know what it is,
Right.
but yeah. So I'm okay with a bit of self-promotion here and there. And I've also thought about the popular music and what people want and all that stuff. I talked to this Nashville executive a while ago, and they want soft rhyme schemes, not hard rhyme schemes and all this stuff. And I was just like, you know what? There's a reason why hard rhyme schemes it's called classic country. Alan Jackson's a legend for a reason, because he's got hard rhymes and they're easy to remember. And I'm just going to do me. And I think that there's lots of fans out there for everybody.
No, I totally agree with you. And it's sad that, when you get to the whole Nashville thing, if you're not one of those people that are accepted as a songwriter down there, you're nothing.
Yeah. Well, she told me if I submit lyrics to her, and if one of her people decide to record it, that she would take 50% of the songwriting credit and therefore 50% of the money. And I
Right.
was like, but I submit the lyrics to you. Like I just there's no motivation for me to sign with anybody.
No.
Like being independent is the best in the world. Like you're your own boss. You work a lot one week and nothing the next week, and you know all the kids have the flu one week. It's like whatever. So
No, that's why I think little shows like ours are the best way to go ahead and promote people. I saw Daryl Hall saying that one day. He said, I've seen so many people that I've come up with. This is him saying this, not me. That they crashed and burned because they were banking on what they did yesterday, and nobody is embracing the technology of today. And his advice to somebody that was coming up was use the internet for as much as you can, because I didn't have this when I was coming up. And
Right.
I thought, well, but you did have radio, man. You did have music labels back then. You did have managers that would promote you,
Right. Well, you look at the story of Loretta Lynn, right? Like driving from radio
yeah.
station to radio station. Like how much fun would that be?
No, I agree. But without the radio stations, which we don't have anymore. I mean, even John Bon Jovi, he's one of the last people that I knew who walked into a DJ with a demo tape, and he handed the guy the tape, and he actually played it. And that was in New York City. Before you know it, was picked up in Cleveland. Then it was picked up in L.A. The guy didn't have a label, and he didn't have a band.
Mhm.
It's just, I don't know. It's crazy.
And now
Crazy.
they say, yeah, send me your song. And I was like, song? What if I have like 15 songs on an original album? They're like, no, you need to send one song. I'm like, okay, out of my 15 songs, 11 of them are hits. So how do I pick that?
Right.
Oh, that's
But-
funny.
And they're the ones that they can't even sing a note, but they're going to tell you which one's a hit.
Yeah.
I mean, that just blows my mind. I don't
Yeah,
know.
a little bit hate. But you know what? I'm doing it for nothing. I'm literally doing it for the joy. And so I do have some historical aspirations, like to write songs about past events. Coulter Wall wrote a song about the Rocky Mountain Rangers, and I really believe that. Do you know Coulter Wall? Have
I've
you
heard
heard
his name. I've heard his name. I don't know his music.
So he's actually from Swift Current, Saskatchewan, and his father was the best premier of Saskatchewan in recent years. And anyhow, he wrote a song called Rocky Mountain Rangers, and it's really great. It goes way back before Canada was a country, and talks about different shenanigans that happened back then. And I think it should have been his title track, to be honest. But I think maybe it was too Canadian or something, and so he went with something less, like more catchy, I guess. I don't know. But I'm a big fan. I really enjoy his music.
Well, I'll tell you what. I've really enjoyed this conversation, and I hope we can do it again. We're getting close on time
Okay.
over here, but
Yeah, I'll have to come again because I didn't even tell you my real story.
I know I've been waiting
How I
for
got
that.
started. Yeah, but we'll do that. We'll do that sometime.
Let's please do that. And I hope everybody that's been watching, again, little shows like this promote nice, great people like Caroline. And
Thank you.
yep, it's been a joy having you, Caroline. And again, I hope you will come back and talk with us again.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on, and I'll come anytime.
Okay, that sounds very good. So stick with me after the show, but we're going to have to, at this point, send out for now.
Sure.
Pete Kramer from Pete Kramer and the Eastwood Project. Come back and see us on Three Chords and the Truth. Next Tuesday, we've got somebody else also from the ISSA Facebook website, which is International Singer-Songwriters. So, Caroline, thank you so very much.
You're welcome.
All right, we'll talk to you soon.
You betcha.